Hello everybody. Today we are going to do some really fun comparisons of inexpensive microphones compared to a more expensive Slate virtual microphone system. So the idea here is you don't want to be held up from making some stuff because you think you don't have good gear. You can get by on, so like all of my records pretty much that are out there on the internet happened years past with a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface, and it's fantastic little, like $100 interface. Very inexpensive, very easy to use, great little preamps, clean and nice. And so you can take any one of these inexpensive mics. And so what we're going to play with today, run them through an interface like that. I should say, finish my thought. And you're going to be able to get a good sound. Just a couple of things you have to do to that vocal track after you record it, and it's going to sound great. Now, I'll preface this too by saying I'm running my stuff through all of the Slate plugins, and so whatever you have, if you don't have Slate stuff, that's fine. We're talking about preamp, compressor, EQ, and really just EQ stuff. And some trimmer plugins. These are all things that even your basic plugin suite that comes with your DAW, whatever system that you might use, you'll have the same tools in there, and you can do these same things and get these mics to sound just as good. So what are these mics we're playing with? Today we're going to be fooling with the VMS, then an SM57 by Shure, an Audio-Technica copy of a SM58, basically. So a 5758, an AT, another Audio-Technica 3035. That's been my workhorse vocal mic. It's a larger diaphragm vocal mic. I've used it for years. It's on all my records. Look my stuff up and you'll hear it all over the place. The only record I have out there that I didn't use that on is the latest one called This House. That record I used the VMS. So then we have finally a Rode NT1A, which is another similar to the 3035. It's a larger diaphragm condenser, and they're all good mics. So I'll say the 57, most people know the 57 pretty well. It's a dark wonder workhorse, man. And so you know what you're starting with there. The 58 generally it's going to be this one. And for my vocal, we're talking about all this is very subjective and relative. The 58 is going to be thinner, have a little more on top, but a little less on bottom. To me, the 3035, much better starting point, but kind of has a sock over it. The NT1A doesn't have a sock at all. And the starting point almost makes your ears rattle because it's just too... and that's if memory serves from when I tried it out a while back. And so that's where we are. And I just sang a little throwaway line. Obviously I've got a cold, but you can't sit in your house doing nothing forever. So I just had to get something done. Here we are playing around with some EQs and whatnots to make a vocal track sound maybe good. So here's our bass. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. Singing with the cold. 5 microphones. Yeah. That's unaffected. Let's go ahead. Let's go, we're singing Distressor. With the cold. EQ. 5 microphones. Lift. Yeah. Those things, get it done. That's all we need to really make that sound good. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. So turn that reverb off, turn that piano off, and so that's our bass line. And so our first mic that's up is the 57. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. That's our good mic. Let's go, 57. Here's our unaffected 57, just as it went right into the box. Uh-oh, no it's not, didn't turn stuff off, sorry. Here, this is the 57 right in the box. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. So obviously dark. I'm going to start popping the components on. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. So just like that, we've got that sounding pretty good. Let's A-B those two. That's the, let's go back to the original, the VMS. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. And 57. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. And so I'll tell you, I mean, that's pretty good, coming up pretty well. I'll tell you, if you're listening on a cheap pair of headphones or earbuds, you might be going, wow, that sounds pretty similar, man. I don't know if I should even mess with an expensive mic at all. Well, put it on big speakers, put it on proper monitors, give it a critical listen. You'll still hear there's drastic differences going on there. But the point is, it's passable. It's very passable. It's very usable. I've got a lot of chatter in a lot of my videos about the fact that all of the little things that we do in a mix adds up to that one big thing. And so vocals, that's another one of those things, but if you're not trying to cut records, for a big label in LA and you don't have all that money at your expense, all you've got is a little $100 sound card and an SM57, you can get it done, man. Here you go. So let's go to the next one, the 58. We'll see what we had to do there. Well, and let me tell you first, before we jump on, what I do. You can see it, obviously. The distressor was just a tiny little bit of compressor, 4-to-1, and basically ride up the input gain until you get some beef to it. I find that this compressor model definitely adds like a cool flavor. I like everything that I put it on. I like how it sounds. It just kind of adds a good tonality. So then next to the EQ, we've got the American 550 EQ. I love this EQ on vocals. They use the Vocals Modern preset, which basically usually dumps the whole bottom and puts a bit back on top. We had to add a bunch back to the bottom for this 58 model because it's thin, it's not a model, the 58 copy. It's a thin on the bottom mic. So we're bumping 2 at 10, 2 at 5. And we're taking only out 2 at 50, so not adding anything on the bottom. We just had to not suck out so much, because remember, this vocal mic, we're kind of pulling a lot out of the bottom. Our lift is pretty heavy at 5, and that's the 58, that's the 57 before we get off of there. And so not too much, pretty easy stuff. A trimmer on the end, of course, to manage your signal. A trimmer on the front too, and you got gain levels on the virtual channel. So always important gain staging. That is keeping your levels proper all the way through your chain. Your plugins are going to love you for it. Your mix is going to love you for it. Always have your levels strong, but not too strong. Anyways, on to the 58. So whatever you do for the 58, we've got a different setup going on here for sure. It was more challenging. The 58 has all this, lost everything. You go from the 57 to 58, and for sure it just kind of wasn't there. So without anything on it, let's hear what it sounds like, this copy of a 58 by AT. Let's go, we're singing with the cold. Yeah. So let's turn these on. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. So you can see it gets there each step of the way. First, the compressor again, of course, is the FG Stress, and we love it, and not much compression. No changes really from the other one. It's as it was. For the EQ, we had to swap out. We went with the SSL EQ. It's a more of a targeted hitter than the 550, I feel. Personal taste, but I needed a little more get to it with this. So what we're doing with it is we're boosting a little bit at 7.5K, a little bit being just like almost 3. Then we're pulling some out at 877, so a little in the upper lower mid range. You like that, don't you? And so then Over here at 495, about 500, we're boosting 1.45. And then way down here, we're boosting a bunch. And that's at like 260. And that's adding some of that back. Now, then the next thing in line is the Air EQ Earth. So this is adding the bottom, even more bottom, back to the whole low side of the spectrum. A lot of it too. We're cranking this guy at plus 11. The air comes next, and we're cranking that, putting some air back up on top at plus 4.5. And that's what gets us to that sound. So let's A/B that 58. Yeah, a lot of work to get to the 58 to be like the VMS. So here's our VMS. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 58. Microphones. Yeah. Let's go. So, a little bit of work to get there, but a close approximation. Again, doing pretty good. Let's go on to finally our large diaphragms. We've got the 3035, my old go-to. And this one, same stuff as the original. Now this time we've got a Hollywood. This is going to give it a little more oompy in the middle to me. I like the balls that comes off of this preamp. It's kind of a different flavor. And on our EQ, we're going hard and heavy on top, all on top, and still sucking a bunch off the bottom, giving it lift after that even. And let's turn them off, let it roll, and flip them on and see how the changes hit us. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. I'm like, I don't see my compressor. I must have knocked it out yesterday when I was playing. So like I said, for this one, we're doing warm and smooth preset. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. That's better. I probably hit the X by mistake. You guys are laughing at me. I saw it, dude. So VMS for the first part, and then I'll flip it for the second part. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. I realize the VMS seems to be turned down a little lower than all the other ones, which can play with your ear a little bit. I turned it up a little bit, so let's do that again. VMS. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. Still a little loud, but you get it. That was pretty good. I like that. Let's move along to the Rode. Same thing going on here as with the AT3035, just in different amounts. A lot less lift, a little less on the top, a little more on the bottom, a little low lift too, looks like. And the trimmer, and we're out. Again, the Hollywood on this guy. And there's like I've said this before, there's several preamps to choose from, a bunch of compressors, a bunch of EQs, several lift thing. I mean, there's options galore. I just picked one, rolled with it, and kept it consistent. Any of these other ones would probably be great, man. For a lot of this stuff. So you got all these compressors. You got still two more. You got still two more pre's, EQs, more compressors, more pre's. That revival, I didn't put that on anything, and that makes everything sound awesome. Point being, this is just what I happen to use. This is not going very far. Back to the thing, the Rode. Let's hear it with nothing. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. And again, easy enough, a little bit of processing, and we can make that mic sound pretty good. So let's test, and we'll do that again between the VMS and that. VMS for the first part, Rode for the second. Let's go, we're singing with the cold through 5 microphones. Yeah. There you have it. How easy was that? And how fun is that? So like, don't ever let gear that you perceive to be not quite good enough to slow you down, man. Jump in, make something cool. You got it right there, no matter what your tools are. I was thinking I use a little, handheld recorder for some of this audio stuff as I do videos. You could take that thing, it's a 4-track recorder. You could make a record on that guy right there. Guarantee it, like use the tools that you have at your hands. Make them work, man, because you never know what's going to come out. So that's all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got something that you want me to cover or you want me to look into and break down for you on this channel, let me know in the comments. Hit the subscribe. Otherwise, have a good one. Ciao.